Got Your Back Pod Stream is brought to you by Mr. Dirk. From casual wear to suits and formals, Mr. Dirk helps you find the perfect fit with the right look for any occasion. Step up your wardrobe at MrDirk.com.
I've said it before, I'll say it again. You can't trust a forward. Listen to my words tonight. Don't just fall in love with my face. I used to be somewhat of a big deal, wheeling, dealing, no bucket in the warm-up, people carrying my bags in. How many times do I have to tell you through text, let's talk about the PK? That is a dirty hit that needs a response. I like a stiff, stout pillow. We'd rather dress nobody than dress you. The only thing I like better than easy points are free Slurpees. Goalies embellish all the time. He tumbled over like he was hit by a Zamboni. Am I this good, or are we just winning by 7 goals, and that's why I'm out here? Just say, I know you're right, Struddy. Just get it out. I think I am the modern-day Ronnie Dangerfield.
Yeah, I get no respect.
And now, Weiss Johnson presents Struddy's World. Here's your host, the 5th member of ABBA, Jason Strudwick.
What an intro. I'm never going to get tired of that intro. How are we doing today, world? Great job. You're absolutely killing it with that, Zubie. Absolutely fantastic. We got a fun show planned for you today, and it's brought to you by our title sponsor, Weiss Johnson Heating and Air Conditioning. Weiss Johnson is offering 10% off any new furnace installed before March 1st. Should you need to replace your furnace because it stopped working or it's just getting old, get yourself a new furnace that is as hot as Struddy's wardrobe. That's what I'm talking about. Mention you heard it on Got Your Back podcast when you book your estimate and you receive 10% off your new furnace. How did I miss the jingle? I live to say hit it. Absolutely awesome. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. In Get Off Your Fence, we're going to talk about why I believe robots should not be involved in baseball. Neither does Max Scherzer. So get your ideas on that either on Twitter or on our stream, which I think would be really important. I am today here in the studio, the home office studio, brought to you by Adrenaline Diesel. Now with an online store for all your diesel truck part needs, check out adrenalinediesel.ca. Oilers lose last night, Zubie. Wasn't a pretty one. They've lost a few. I know the stream was hot last night on our Got Your Back podcast, but here we are less than 24 hours later, and the sun rose this morning, although the team has a day off. It's a little dark in Oilers land. I met 2 fans today, and they weren't happy.
Yeah, it's starting over at 61, coming in hot, says, well, after his 18-hour cooling off period, still just as frustrated and pissed at the organization. I may end up seeing yet another sports psychologist. So, yeah, it's the waves are emanating out there still in Oiler fandom. Yeah, it feels like a dark time right now.
Really dark time. And so we're going to try to help. I've got a few ideas. So we got Ryan Rishaug joining us momentarily here. And I'm going to challenge him with some new lines, both forwards and D, that I think should be starting when the Oilers hit the ice Thursday. Then we got Darren Dreger coming over, joining us the show. Darren Dregs, you know him. He knows everything. He's the insider, one of the ultimate insiders. And we'll get his thoughts on the Oilers, the Leafs, then some trade talk. And then later on the show, Zubie's got something he wants to get off his chest, an idea he has in football. We'll talk a little baseball. And then perhaps of the 2 shows, and the first one was amazing. This will be the best play of the day, I think, Zubie.
Oh, yeah. A classic, an anniversary of something, lots of sports fans will be familiar with, has become part of the lexicon and one of the greatest and yet most insanely ludicrous trash talk in the history of sports.
So I can't wait. We got a jam-packed show, and we want to hear from you. Load up on our YouTube, like I say, Twitter, tell a friend we're here, and we're going to have a good time for the next hour together. So let's get this started. As we get up to speed, time to get up to speed, brought to you by Timber House Developments. When you become part of the Timber House family, you might be surprised just how close you will get to the people in the process. If you want to check in on things, no problem, stop by the job site. If you want to chat with the crew at the head office, stop anytime. They've got great coffee. You're the most important person in the home building process and will be treated as such. Visit timberhouse.ca. And there's our man right there, Ryan Rishaug. Now, I know you've been on a lot of shows, but this one's not the same. You're going to be treated like a bit of what is that, a hostile witness on this? You're not going to get away with what you're not going to get away with what you let me get away on your Got Your Back podcast. So be ready, be on your toes. Blaster blocks or crush candy, whatever you play, you need to be focused here 100% of the time.
If I might say, if I may be so bold as to say, like, you guys have put so much work into this. So I jump on to the chat. You guys are here 10 minutes early. You're workshopping ideas. You're just humming. I can tell the juices are flowing. Zubie's super engaged. You got all this stuff. Where's this energy on Got Your Back, guys? You have now shown me your commitment level when it's your own deal. Where is this commitment level on the big show?
See, Zubie, that's why I'm treating him like a hostile witness, and we'll strike that whole comment from the record.
I will edit it from the final.
Yeah,
it'll be final output as well.
What you said, it was sharp and insightful, but it will never make it to the live podcast. So
very true and very true.
Okay, well, lots I want to get to with you, Shaga, but before we do, let's hear from the head coach, Chris Knobloch, on what he believes the state of his coach, and that's being brought to you by our digital sound box and Douglas mattresses. If you're like me, you know there's nothing better than a good night's sleep after a long day of working beside Shaga. Your best sleep is just around the corner with every mattress there. They are including a free sleep bundle that includes 2 memory foam pillows, a complete set of luxury sheets, and more. Visit the Douglas Mattress Store in Manchester Square here in Edmonton, or check them out at douglas.ca/GYB. Zubie, let's hear from Chris Knobloch.
Yeah, I'm actually the one with the clip. And if you're going to chirp me in the ad read, I'm not pushing the button. So sorry, bud. You got to fill some time now.
Strike that from the record. Strike that from the record.
Turnover in the neutral zone. Obviously, they capitalize on that right away. And then, we're a fragile group right now. And we just a little reluctant to play our game. And confidence is a little hard right now.
How do you get out of that fragility?
There you go.
Okay.
Fragile group right now. Hey, Struddy?
So fragile group, that is something that we've all cued in on our show last night. I want to clue in on something else. Reluctant to play our game. I heard that, it's funny. I went to bed last night. I was like, what does that even mean? Is it reluctant mean they don't want to? Are they unable to? What is the issue? And as I drifted off on my massive pillow last night, I started thinking, you know what? There's been so much change. I think we need to change the lines yet again and put them kind of back in order, except for a couple tweaks. So I'm going to present to you, Shaga, Zubes, and all our listeners, the lines that I would start next game, and there'll be a few surprises. So here we go. No surprise here. Nuge, McDavid, Hyman. So we can just throw that one. That one is no-brainer. Then I'm going to go Skinner, Draisaitl, Savoy. That's right. 2 smallish wingers beside Leon. Third line, Podkolzin, Henrique, and Arvidsson. Bit of a worker B line. And then I'm going to go Perry on the left side, Janmark, and Brown. That means that Samuel Kapanen's son is not playing tomorrow night. So let's just discuss the forward lines as I'm set up. This is what I'm doing. I'm trying to create an identity for each line so he can say, guys, this is what we do. So let's just leave 97's line alone. I think we can all figure out what their job is. But with Skinner and Savoy on either side of Draisaitl, Shaga, I'm looking for speed, I'm looking for skill, and I'm looking for putting defense on their heels, right? Making plays, getting after them. And that's your identity, is to be quick. Then you got Podkolzin, Henrique, and Arvidsson. I'm looking for worker bees. I want 3 worker bees taking the puck off the wall to the net, getting to the net. That is what we want from you. We don't need you to make 90-foot passes. We want you playing hard. Then finally, Perry, Brown, and Janmark. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what those guys bring. But again, another worker bee line. Your thoughts on my lines for tomorrow's game in Florida?
Yeah, you know what's funny, Struds? I put together lines as well, and they were almost exactly the same. There's one area where I will dispute with you just a little bit.
Okay.
I agree that Jeff Skinner absolutely needs to be back in the lineup, and I would at some point like to see him get a look in the top 6 for sure. But I think tomorrow is going to be a big game. I think it's one the Oilers are going to have to get up for. They're going to have to be fired up for, and I think it's going to be big boy hockey. So I am going to have Podkolzin on one of the top two lines instead of Skinner. I know he hasn't been producing a lot, but I want to see how Podkolzin does in this game. I want to see how he does against the other team's top couple of D pairings, how he does in an energetic game like this. I want to give him a chance to earn a little bit of that back. So I am going to go Podkolzin with McDavid and Hyman. I think the pairing there, McDavid and Hyman, is the one that needs to be focused on. I want to give Nugent Hopkins to Draisaitl if you're also asking him to have Savoy on the other side. I think giving him a little bit of an upgrade on that left wing, if you're carrying the rookie, I think that balances things out a little bit. And then I had Skinner with Henrique and Arvidsson. And then that fourth line, whether you want Kapanen or Brown in, kind of take your pick, but I agree with the other ones. But I like what you've done. I like the identities that you've tried to create here. The only swap for me is Skinner and Podkolzin from a second line to a first or third line for Podkolzin for me, a first line.
Yeah, that's good insight. For a hostile witness, I have to give you credit. You actually brought a really good point there. Okay, so that is something I'm not willing to die on. Like if that's the switch he makes, I can live with that switch. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially the way you're presenting it. You made an interesting point about a big game tomorrow. And I think that, sometimes when a team is struggling and I'll use the coach's word, reluctant to play their game, I think the team that crushed your soul in June is probably the right team to find that energy again. If I was the coach and I was, again, thinking about this when my head was on my massive pillow, I would replay.
Your massive head was on your normal size pillow. Sorry, buddy. I can't let you get away with that twice. Your giant head on your normal size pillow.
What I would I would play some of the low lights and the highlights from that series against the Panthers. I want my players to feel emotion because I don't think they've shown emotion in recent games. So show
beat
some
them over the head with that? You'd really be showing them that in the video session?
I would.
Like that's what this group needs right now is a big old fat reminder. You gonna show McDavid losing it in the room after too?
Yes.
Really?
I want to show emotion. I want emotion from this group. When's the last time that we saw some real emotion from this group? And let's just go back. Like I don't want to go back 5 months, but go back in a month. We saw a little bit last night when there was a bit of a hit on Skinner from Ekholm, but I want these guys to feel that emotion. Every human is better when we do anything with emotion, when we just walk through it. So that is what I'm showing this group tomorrow, and I'm doing it like in my morning meeting, not before the game.
That feels on the nose. It feels a little on the nose, buddy. If this group can't get up for tomorrow's game, 4 straight losses, the team that snatched your soul from you, if there's a single player that isn't on board tomorrow, regardless of any hype videos or not, trade them. Like everybody's got to get on board for this one, whether they show highlights or not. Wouldn't you think that should just be expected tomorrow?
I do, but I think you want to remind the guys. I think you need to remind them and show them visually the great moments and then some of the sad moments. Right. Like I really do think that I think that'll galvanize the team.
They could just show the Game 7 post game Got Your Back podcast. They could just put that up on the big screen in the locker room and just let that play.
Just sadness from Mr. Strudwick. My poor family were just so rattled. Okay, so give us your thoughts if you want to chime in on the stream. We'd love to hear from you if you do that or not, or if you'd want it if you're a player. Now let's review the D. I believe it's time for a change.
I'm interested here. Oh, I'm interested because I got to change too. Let's see it.
I'm guessing we're probably going to be pretty similar.
Struddy, just before we hit this, you guys have both seen that the Oilers claimed Dermott off waivers?
Yeah.
Oh.
Just saw that just as it came in.
Just as the show started.
Off waivers, so
Travis Dermott.
Like
maybe that doesn't factor in, but just
well, that changes everything, Zubie. We got to start over again. We're starting at 1.
Okay,
we'll
be
back at 1.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I think that's another just a depth guy to pick up, and I think because I think they get him, they can put him in the minors, can they not, Sugar? I believe because
he was on waivers. Yeah, I mean, people will remember. Obviously, he started the season here and was with the group, and then ends up in Minnesota, played 9 games there, no points. So he's got 19
Yeah.
games here and hasn't put up any points or anything. But they went and grabbed him back. This does not surprise me at all. The Oilers are probably coming to terms with the fact that Klingberg might not be an every night guy, and they need another option over on the left side. Because if Klingberg is not going to be an option on the second pairing, then Brett Kulak has to be. And then that means they need someone, a natural lefty, to play in the third pairing on the left side. So this doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I read yesterday that if you lose him on waivers and you pick him up, you can put him in the minors.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you can get him down. Yeah, if you want to, you can have him down.
Okay, my D pairings. Again, everyone listening, we're presenting this to a hostile witness in Ryan Rishaug. I'm going.
I already don't like them.
Nurse Bouchard. I'll put the two Swedes together, Klingberg and Ekholm. And then I've got Kulak and Emberson. What say you?
So your other pairing was 25-2.
That's right.
You think a remedy for what's going on with Evan Bouchard is to get back in with Darnell Nurse?
I do.
I mean,
okay, let me explain myself.
Yeah,
this
explain.
is what I think. I think that right now, Ekholm is carrying a lot of the defensive responsibility with 2. And I think that, for Ekholm to now join forces with his countryman, a guy he knows, I think that will maybe help both of them just kind of have a little bit of an easier time. And then as far as Bouchard, I think he needs to be shaken out of whatever he's in, right? Or whatever funk he's feeling right now. And Darnell plays a different game than Ekholm. There's no doubt about it. More athletic, and not to suggest that Ekholm's not athletic, but we've talked about this before. So I like those 4 together, and I want to see how they present against a pretty good team in Florida.
Yeah, so I get where you're coming from. This is the thing, and this will seem odd because last night on the show we were all over Bouchard, and I was talking about how the head coach needs to start to lean in on him a little bit. Right, some accountability if the same problems are cropping up over and over and over again. But I think we're still at a stage, Struds, where that accountability needs to be in game.
Okay.
I'm not ready to kick the players' feet out from underneath them in a rematch of the Stanley Cup final in a game that means this much to the group. So I don't think this is the day to kick his feet out from underneath him and pull him off the top pairing. I would lean back into 14-2 together. But if Bouchard shows up with the same stuff he did before, then you make the switch in game. Shorter leash, you have no choice. But I would send him the signal, buddy, we believe in you. We know you can do this. We're going to continue giving the opportunity to do this and keep leaning into him. So I would go with that pairing. I think it's time to see how Ty Emberson will acquit himself in a big situation. So I would put Emberson next to Darnell Nurse in the second pairing. Because I don't believe Klingberg is in a position right now to play second pairing minutes in a game like this. I think there's been some setback. I think he needs some more games to find his footing out of the break. My third pairing would be Kulak and Klingberg together. Now, very good chance you end up having to put Kulak up with Nurse and you cut it way back and you go to 5D. But I would be testing Ty Emberson because I think he's going to be a gamer. And I think you want to see what this guy's capable of in a big game like this. So if you notice the theme here, Struds, let's see what the 2 new guys can add to this Edmonton, Florida thing here. Let's see what Podkolzin can give you with some minutes, and let's give Emberson a ball to run with here.
Yeah, and I get that. And I know Emerson's been playing. He's definitely improved since the beginning of the year. If he can take that on, it'd be a big deal. But the Klingberg right now is, man, this is make it tough because you got the Kane thing hanging over you. Do not have money to spend. Then you've got Klingberg, who you spent the money on, and still trying to find his game. I'll be interested to see what he does.
I think they made a mistake playing him in the back-to-backs. I think he'd only had a few games under his belt. They take this big, long break, and they jump right back into it on back-to-backs. I think he was really, really bad in that second game, but maybe he's just not in a position to play back-to-backs yet. So maybe they were testing him. Maybe they wanted to see, let's see how he does. He didn't do good, and then ended up scratched the next game. Probably erring on the side of playing him in one of those 2 games and sitting him on the second one would have been better, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this as we'll kind of wrap this up, is that I believe that Knobloch always surprises us. right? He surprises us so often. And I'll just go back to that Vancouver series where took him being Skinner out, put Pickard in when I didn't think they should. Then I thought they should leave Pickard and they put Skinner back in. So I believe that we'll be surprised by some of the line combinations we see tomorrow. And I quite frankly, I can't wait for it. That'll be about like 10 o'clock Edmonton time, roughly. Well, I'm guessing the team will skate, right? The whole team will skate tomorrow.
I think it's going to be interesting, Struds, and to reiterate a little bit about what we talked on the show last night about, like, he's made some interesting decisions lately. It seems to me like that magic touch that he had with his lineup, and I know a lot of guys aren't playing great right now. There have been some interesting calls, scratching Skinner, playing Klingberg in those back-to-backs, some of the line combinations, just a few of the things, not been like starting Bouchard in the third period, like you said. Knobloch, there's been a few lately for a guy that usually has it right on lock and dialed in. So fascinated to see what they come out the gate with tomorrow.
Shoggy, thanks a lot, buddy. We're back up tomorrow night after post-game, after Florida. And so rest up and enjoy your golf simulator this afternoon.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I'm literally heading right to it right now to listen to the rest of the show while I hit some balls. You notice I got the TSN golf shirt on, so I'm taking it serious today. I'm going to score this round, and I'm taking today's practice very seriously.
Okay, I love it. All right, Shoggy, thanks for this. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.
Yeah, say hi to Uncle Dregs for me.
We will. That was Up to Speed with our good buddy Ryan Rishaug. All right, Zubie, that means it's time for a pause. Correct?
You got it.
Good time for pause. When we come back, we got Dregs. We're going to get into the Dregs, a little bit of the Oilers, some Leafs, of course, because they had a huge win last night. Huge win. The Leafs, I believe, is the first time in 60 years they came back from 3 goals down in Boston. That's crazy that someone actually tracked that, but it's also crazy that it took that long for them to do that, Zoobs.
It usually goes the other way with them in a big game. So a little bit of a reversal of fortune there.
So good. All right, let's pause here when we come back. Uncle Darren Dreger right away.
Specializing in heavy-duty commercial truck powertrain repair, performance, tuning, and part sales, Adrenaline Diesel's professional team is ready to assist you with all of your needs, from the simplest oil changes to engine conversions, overhauls, and engine modifications. Featuring an all-new online parts store and machine shop to manufacture, replicate, or repair parts, visit adrenalinediesel.ca.
For over 60 years, Belvedere Golf and Country Club has delivered a high-quality membership experience to Edmonton and area. And now it's even better. Drainage and irrigation improvements in 2024 have taken course conditions to a new level. This commitment to long-term sustainability means exceptional playing conditions all season long. Belvedere's tee sheet availability is unmatched, so join now and experience golf the way it was meant to be played, on your schedule. Visit belvederegcc.com today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's time now for one of Struddy's buddies, brought to you by HSC Core Services. If you're a small to medium-sized business, HSC Core has your back when it comes to health and safety compliance. From creating and managing a tailored health and safety program that meets all legislation and core requirements, HSC Core supports clients' operations every step of the way. Visit www.hsccore.com. That's hsccor.com for more info. There he is, Darren Dreger. And I get the sense you're a little nervous. I mean, you've worked with some pretty mighty titans of this industry, including Vic Rauter and now Jason Strudwick. I mean, life, is this kind of a completion of your life cycle of a joy?
Well, we'll see how the segment goes. I was a bit amused because I was forced to sit through the tail end of the Rishaug discussion, and there was a reference to Uncle Dregs or whatever. And for whatever reason, the first thing that popped into my mind, visualize Struddy, if you will. I think it was the Stanley Cup final in Nashville. And Ryan, of course, was covering, as he has with me and others, many a Stanley Cup final. So the weather is beautiful. I can't remember what we were doing. We were going to an outdoor concert or something along those lines on a rare off day. And he comes out of the hotel with the ankle strap sandals. The old grandpa boots, like those type of sandals, right? Where you got to go, with all due respect, you can get them with like steel-toed at Mark's Work Warehouse, like that type of sandal. And so when he said that, and then you followed up by referencing Uncle Dregs, for whatever reason, that's what I visualized was Ryan in those sandals. Yeah.
Awful. And white, very pasty white legs. I've seen those things in midsummer. They don't get any sun. So that must have been hard. Hard to see.
It was hard.
Okay, Dregs, let's talk about it. So the Oilers are in a bit of a slump here, right? And it's not just a recent play since the Four Nations. Even before that, a week or two before, they were not playing as well as they could have. So, do you get the sense that this maybe changes the way that the Oilers view the upcoming trade deadline?
Well, yeah, in a perfect world it would, because look, every general manager wants to inject something that's going to turn things around, provide some help. I mean, that's age old. But we also know the reality, and you guys have talked about it at length, and that's the salary cap reality for the Oilers. And the question around Evander Kane, is he coming back before the start of the playoffs or isn't he? And if he isn't, well, okay, there's money that can be invested. If he is, then that's problematic. There is no quick fix. And even with cap space, there's no quick fix. So you look at the areas of need. Edmonton has been looking for that defenseman for a long, long time. They'd like to add a penalty kill forward, a defensive guy, something along those lines. And then we in the media are fixated, on goaltending, because of late anyway, it just seems that every mistake that's made, anyone on the sheet, it ends up in the back of the Oilers net. So you don't have certain areas covering up for the mistakes of others. that seems to be what's going on now. So I'm sure that, Bowman is like every other GM out there, Struddy. I mean, he's making his calls, but no different than his predecessor, Kenny Holland. I mean, his hands to a degree are tied unless it's dollar in and dollar out. So if there's a fix between now and March 7th trade deadline, doesn't it feel like it has to come internally? And I know that there's some discussion as to the style of play. Now, traditionally the Oilers, correct me if I'm wrong, they're not a dump and chase team. They're not going to be, but I think there's some internal discussion as to whether or not you do that, just to inject a little bit more predictability in how they play, because right now it's just not working.
One of the guys that I've been advocating for to get more opportunity is Jeff Skinner. So what am I or others missing that it seems like he is always the guy on the outside looking in, even though he's sitting with 11 goals on his plate?
Well, and he deserves credit for that, because when the Oilers first brought him in, there were a lot of eyebrows that were raised just because, we in this sport, Struddy, you feel it as a former player. Maybe you don't embrace it as much because of a different level of approach here. But in this sport, and I've always said this, we gravitate to the negative. We don't always celebrate the positive. Sure, that's what highlight shows are driven to. You see McDavid score the game winner for Canada in the Four Nations face-off. Yeah, that's great. But panels and shows gravitate to the negative. And the negative with Jeff Skinner, and the reason why people were surprised that the Oilers took a flyer on him, was because of how porous he has been historically, traditionally, career-wise, defensively. Right. So the offense has been there when he's playing with a little bit of energy and a little bit of push, but it's the rest of his game that I think scared a lot of clubs away. So, yeah, I mean, he deserves credit. I mean, he is creating offense probably more than the naysayers would have given him credit for the start of the year. So in saying all that, especially now when things are going poorly, why not give a guy like that a little bit more ice? Just in light of the fact that nobody else is doing anything, so might as well give it a shot.
Let's shift our focus over to Maple Leafs, and I believe that experience for Mitch Marner at the Four Nations will be invaluable. And maybe not quite right out of the gate, but last night's game, in big moments, we saw 16 kind of elevate. Do you get a sense from that group and or even Berube that he could be kind of, I hate to use the word, but figuring it out a little bit what the next level is for Mitch Marner?
Well, that's the hope. And you're seeing the evidence that there's reason to sell that hope. If you're in the Marner camp, and clearly Berube and company are, if you want to look back the Four Nations face-off, I remind again those who pile on Mitch Marner, and there's a legion of them across Leafs Nation, that, hey, without that overtime winner, Canada doesn't make it to the championship final. And
Right.
then he went quiet, right? And that's hard to do when you're playing with the best player on the planet, Connor McDavid, for at least a couple of games. They just didn't mesh. But then he has that huge game in the championship final. And, he's come back into the regular season, and he's been the most noticeable up front. Austin Matthews looks like he's feeling and wearing a bit of the Four Nations fatigue. And even Marner post game after that come from behind over the Bruins last night talked about how he's got his energy back. Well, it didn't look like it was sagging a whole bunch, but given the fact that he scored the goal in the way that he did last night and securing the extra point for the Toronto Maple Leafs, that's the obvious comment. But I've always been a believer in his game, with an appreciation and an acknowledgement that it doesn't translate in the playoffs, right? And so when the critics come out, they've got that trump card. Okay, he's a great regular season player, and that's the way it's always going to be, whether it's in Toronto or someone else, until he gets his role, his job done in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and we're not going to know that for several weeks.
Yeah, and I think we saw that in the Four Nations. I thought that the final game, he was there. He understood the pace. Like I've been one of the guys that have chirped a lot, and I chirp a lot in the Leafs, but I honestly thought he was really, really good in that last game, and I think you learn as you go. One more on the Leafs here. As I watch that team play, I always feel like their center position isn't quite dialed in. Center, first line, second line, Matthews, Tavares, they can live with it. But that third, fourth liner, is there maybe something to be done there, or could there be something done there for Brad Treliving to boost probably the third?
Well, look, if we're looking back the next time we have this conversation, and the Maple Leafs haven't added a centerman, I'll admit I'll be shocked. Because that's their primary focus. Now it gets a little bit tricky and interesting because they would also like to add a third pair of defensemen, and maybe you go deeper, in search of a defenseman, if you realize you just don't have the stomach to pay the price for a Braden Shen out of St. Louis. And I'll establish what that price point looks like. Now, Toronto actually has a decent prospect pool. They've got Fraser Minton, they've got Easton Cowan, they've got Nikita Grabenkin up front, who's a pretty good, American League player right now and looks like he's going to be an NHLer. They've got Benny Danford, who's playing in the Ontario League. He's a prospect defenseman, and they've got various draft picks. So it looks like they've got a youth push package to put together for Braden Shen. And Braden Shen he would, in my opinion, be their number one target. And then it's Scotty Lawton of the Philadelphia Flyers after that. And then after that, I think you have to start looking at Bugstad if he's available. Pierre LeBrun talked about Yanni Gourde, coming off that sports hernia surgery, should be back in the NHL next week. Could he be on the list? Sure. But if Treliving is looking at Yanni Gourde because he doesn't want to pay the price on Braden Shen or Scott Lawton, then I think he's aiming a little bit higher on defense. But they got good news today. I don't know if you saw Johnny Beecher, hit Chris Tanev last night.
Yes. Yeah.
Tanev left the game in the first period and didn't come back. How tough a dude he is. And they got good news. He's day to day, so he's going to be fine. So that kind of took that took some of the concern out of the equation looking forward to the March 7th trade deadline, because Toronto would rather invest their assets in a 2-3 centerman at this point.
Yeah, and one last one for you. We'll just go back to the into our digital sound box here, brought to you by Douglas Mattress, and hear from Seth Jones post game last night after losing 2-1 to the Utah.
We're the exact same team right now as we were at game one, and I think it's pretty evident out there. We haven't made any strides to be a better, more simple hockey team, and it shows. We don't get a lot of wins because of that.
This is kind of an opportunity to gauge that since you started here and
There's
now 60
Seth
games
Jones.
and almost you're back here again.
You can cut it, Zubes. You can cut it.
This is an almost.
So that's Seth Jones post game, and there's reports that the two sides are maybe working together on a trade. So maybe update us on that, and then I mean, those are comments that are not reflective of, I think, the coach.
Well, I agree with you, and that as I listened to it last night and then listened to it again this morning. Now, third time I'm hearing it, I'm like, Was he talking about the coach? Is he looking at Kyle Davidson, the general manager, who maybe hasn't done a good enough job of bringing in supporting players? Is he looking inside the room at himself, at his teammates, all of that? Here's the one thing I would submit to, and I understand and I appreciate, I do the frustration of Seth Jones. So he's got contract protection, right? And he's talked about wanting to win. Okay, I get that. I respect that. But he's not given Kyle Davidson or the Chicago Blackhawks a whole lot of runway to work with. He's given them a team or two. Well, okay, hold on a moment. Like that's great, and you earned that no trade protection and all of that. But if it's so bad in Chicago, then give Kyle Davidson a list of 10 teams.
Right.
There's at least 10 contenders. Find a fit where they've got the interest, they've got the cap space, whatever. If it's so bad in Chicago, then loosen up your grip on your trade protection and see if the Chicago Blackhawks can facilitate your want.
Yeah, sounds like that's one's going to have to get figured out here. Dregs, I really appreciate your time. Talk to you a couple of weeks, buddy, after the trade deadline. Rest up for that one.
All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thanks. That's Darren Dreger, Struddy's buddy. Fantastic. And yeah, the Seth Jones situation. I mean, I don't know. I don't think while he's here in his prime, they're not going to win anytime soon, in my belief. Okay, Zoobs, let's change it up and take a look at the standings, brought to you by Painting by Michaela. If your home interior is feeling dull or outdated, Painting by Michaela knows fresh coats are in season all year round. From winter to summer, their dependable, quality service delivers a clean, flawless finish every time, done by professionals you can trust. Proudly serving the Edmonton area, they are ready to transform your space. Call 780-935-8608 today. And honestly, nothing freshens up a home like a fresh coat of paint. I love it. Zubie, where are you taking us today on the standings, buddy?
We did it before we moved into my house here in Kelowna. We did some renos. Right. And yeah, it's fabulous. And like you said, even the smell. People would say like, I don't love but I don't know. There's something clean and fresh about it for sure.
So good.
All right, let's get to the standings. Let's take a look here at the Pacific Division. And the Oilers, despite this losing streak, still only 2 points back of Vegas. They've been having their own struggles as well. But obviously the big thing to watch for here is the Los Angeles Kings, who have won 2 in a row, and they have 3 games in hand, only 3 points back, and they actually have a higher winning percentage than the Oilers do because of that. So that's, or a points percentage, I should say. So yeah, they're creeping up, and it looks like it's going to be, I mean, good. It's good news, bad news. Good news, the division's still in reach. Bad news, it's going to be a 3-horse race, and you can't afford to lose too many more in succession like this.
No, but it's interesting. You look at the rest of the Pacific Division, there's been a lull here, right? You can see Anaheim's won 7 of the last 10, but for the most part, everyone's around 500. So I'm not saying it's okay that it's happened, but it does happen to every team. So I think the challenge for the Oilers is to get going here on their way home, right? So you have 2 more games on this road trip, then come home feeling hopefully better about where your game is at and less reluctant to play your game.
And of course, yeah, like you said, a losing streak looks and feels a lot worse when everyone around you is on a tear. But that's, right. As you said, not the case. Okay, let's hop over to something we wanted to bring everyone's attention to over in the Eastern Conference, specifically in the Metropolitan Division, which is the Carolina Hurricanes. And you can see them there still in second place, same amount of points as the New Jersey Devils. But of course, lots of talk about the Hurricanes because they have made the biggest splash, the biggest trade certainly of the season, acquiring Mikko Rantanen and also adding Taylor Hall. And I think that's almost being a little bit forgotten because everyone's talking about Rantanen. Here's some quick numbers since the Rantanen trade. The Carolina Hurricanes are 3-5-1. Rantanen has 1 goal and 3 total points in 8. He missed 1 game, 8 games. Taylor Hall has 0 goals and 1 assist. He's also played 8 games. And Marty Necas going the other way to Colorado rather. He's got 5 goals, 9 points in 10 games. Carolina in those 6 losses, including the overtime loss, averaging 1.33 goals per game in those 6 losses, and they've been shut out twice. So what's going on there, Struddy? What do you see?
I do. I'm not the first one to say, but I think that with Rantanen, I think he's shocked that he's been traded. I think there's a time to adjust there. I really do. I think that he's trying to figure out what the hell's just happened. And then I don't think it helps that they're offering him a contract. I know that they want to get this done, but I just, I always think of Bo Horvat when he signed with the Islanders. Why the hell did you sign with that team? Why? Like, what makes you think that they were a Bo Horvat away from becoming a really good team? And I think Carolina's a better team. Like I think Carolina's actually a good team, but I just don't understand it. I don't understand why Bo Horvat would sign there. And Brandon just got there. Like he's just landed almost, and you're asking him to commit for the next 8 years. I think that makes it even harder. So you're shocked by the trade, and now you're not being forced to, but you're being really challenged to try to sign a new contract, and then you're trying to play for this new group with new players. Like, I think his head's spinning, and I know that he's an NHL, one of the stars in NHL, but I think that's the challenge for him.
And do you think things going poorly too then make you hesitant to, geez, I don't know if I want to sign this, play into whether or not you want to sign that deal and make a long-term commitment to that team and that market?
So I was never in this situation where I'd have 50 teams offering to sign me. But if I were him, I would go to free agency, and I'd want to go look at everything and figure out where I want to be. He's not going back to Colorado, so you're down to 31 teams. There's probably a few teams they can't afford them anyway. So now you're down to 20 teams. So look at it, see where you want to play, who's up and coming, what do you want to be a part of? Like Utah's got a pretty good young team. Could they fit them in? Would that be a good place to go? Like, you can grow with, not that you can grow, but they can grow with you, and you can be a catalyst there for kind of reaching their highest point of development. So I always think, Bo Horvat, why did you sign there? And I'm anti-Islanders anyway. So, but why? Why would you sign there? I don't even get an extra year. And I guess maybe for Rant, if he doesn't want to miss out on $13 million, I know it's a lot of money, but when it's 7 times 13 or 8 times 13, does it really matter? Like, really? And he's already made a lot of money.
And Chicago retaining already half of his salary. So if Carolina were to retain again, now then he becomes a very affordable. I think there'd be lots of teams that would be in on him still for the flip this year. If they decide to go that direction, that would be pretty surprising, but it sounds like it's in play.
Yeah. Crazy times. All right, everybody, let's take a quick pause here. When we come back, we're going to play the field. Take a look at some sports events that one has got. Zubie, you text me this and you're like, we got to talk about this. I'm like, I got it. Text me again later. Like, I get it. I know we're going to talk about it. Let's pause and we'll talk about this right on the backside of this.
This break. We'll be right back.
Join over 250,000 Canadians who have upgraded to Canada's best mattress. Douglas is proudly made in Canada and ships directly to your door for free. Douglas is easy to set up. Enjoy perfectly balanced comfort and an easy-to-clean machine washable cover. Get a free sleep bundle with your Douglas mattress. Try risk-free for 365 nights. Get your Douglas mattress today.
Dennis here from Weiss Johnson. Are you looking to get into the trades or have a kid graduating high school wondering what to do? Weiss Johnson is looking for career-minded people to work for us. Opportunities truly are endless. Become a service technician, gas fitter, refrigeration technician, install residential or commercial heating and plumbing systems, fireplace installations or service, duct cleaning. We are the company where you can learn all aspects of the trade and pick which career path to take. We have an awesome benefits package and offer school reimbursement too. Visit wjcareers.com today.
All right, let's continue down this world of Struddy's world. And thanks for joining on us today on the live stream and on Twitter, wherever you're viewing. Thanks a lot. Tell a friend. Give us a thumbs up if you've got a chance. Let's play the field now, brought to you by Play Alberta. Love to play, but want to keep it fun? Play Alberta makes it easy to set limits on deposits and game time, so you can use your game sense and stay in control while still having fun. Whether you're betting on sports or trying your luck at the tables, play safe, play smart, and play your way. Learn more at playalberta.ca. All right, Zubie, let's take a look at the things that have kind of been going on here. And the Green Bay Packers have formally asked the NFL to eliminate the Tush Push. First off, I'd be embarrassed to have to send that email in. Like, hey, we'd like to formally request that the Tush Push not be allowed. So for those who don't know what it is, it's a goal line play where basically 2 massive men stand behind your quarterback and they just shove him over the line with all the power they can. And they call it the Tush Push. Out because the team that does it is the Eagles.
Yeah, they call it the brotherly shove was what they added
Brotherly shove. Yeah.
the Philly name for it. So I'm going to tell, this is a complete tangent. I'm going to tell a quick story that quick-ish, that hopefully also includes my opinion in it somewhere. So I'm going to going in the Wayback Machine here. When I was in my early 20s, I lived in like a college living house in North Glenmore. And there were 3 or 4 of us that lived there. And every Friday and Saturday night for probably like 2 years, we'd gather at that house, about 8 or 10 guys, few pre-sips, and then we were playing NFL Blitz 2000 on the PlayStation 1, and we had the 4-player adapter. This was before wireless controllers. This was like revolutionary. And I got to shout out my good buddy, one of my best friends, Scott Mitchell. We call him Uncle Scotty. Me and Uncle Scotty were the undefeated. We weren't undefeated. We were the dominant team. We'd play winner sticks, and you switch out. And Scotty and I were by far and away the best team. We would crush Borley and Kinsey and Big Mike, Sled and Kraus, all of those guys. They couldn't hold a candle to us. Yeah. Anyway, what we would do on defense, you had control of 2 players. We would both take the defensive ends, line them up right off the tackles, and just blast through like we had the Watt brothers on our team, just blasting through, crushing quarterbacks. And we were winning like all the time. And some of our friends would get mad. Some of these games got heated, and they're like, yeah, but it's so obvious. We know what you guys are doing. And anyone could do that. And it's like, okay, well then A, stop us from doing it. Right. If it's cheating, if it's wrong, stop us from doing it, A. And B, this strategy is available to you as well. We're not hiding it. It's not a secret. Right. You can do it too. And that's to me like the exact same as the Tush Push and hard feelings when we went out to Stonehouse or the Druid somewhere on White Ave. Sometimes those hard feelings carried over into the evening. But the point is, it's there. No one else can do it the way they have been able to do it. So that's my feeling is you either stop it or you try to perfect it, do it yourself. Now, if every team did, that's when I think the league might look at it. Or when teams start doing it on first down, it's not pretty to get 3 yards and they know they can just get 3 yards every play. Then that's when I think the league might step in. But when there's no evidence, I don't think, to the play causing any serious injuries or anything like that yet, even though I think that's the basis that the Packers have put forward, you got to leave it be. And I don't like the Eagles, by the way. I do not like the Eagles, and I still feel you got to leave this alone.
Now, I agree with everything you say there. What I would say, I challenge the league that if you're going to rule out the Tush Push, then you shouldn't be able to push or pull any other player that has the ball in his hands. Because how often do you see it like a running back trying to get over the goal line and one of his big defensive or offensive lineman drags him, pulls him over, or shoves a receiver. So if you're going to ban that, to me, they're on the same level, right? Because you're helping someone else by actually shoving them, not just blocking for them. And I think that's where it kind of gets really, really gray area. Because now what is illegal? What can we shove? Can we pull? Can we push? And I think that's what a big challenge is in there.
Yeah, agree.
Okay, let's move over to Major League Baseball. So Steinbrenner Jr. Went out and announced that they're reforming after, how many years did I say? It was 49 years or something?
I think they said they instituted it in 76.
Yeah, so where there was no facial hair. You were allowed to have no facial hair if you played for the Yankees. Now, personally, I had no problem with that. If that's the team's policy, they don't want you to have facial hair. Because I think what the Yankees try to do is try to create a culture or a feeling that they're better than everybody else, right? They're pretty boys, the fancy uniforms. They do have sick uniforms.
Yes.
And that's what they want to present. Well, Steinbrenner decided and spoke out there. They're now going to have groomed beards. They're allowed to have groomed beards after all this time. And a lot of people rejoice like it was something massive, like they cured cancer. I think that a team should be able to do what they want to do. I truly, and if that's how you want to do it, I think it's fine. Now, Steinbrenner is not like his dad, George, so he's changed it up, and I get it. But now after 49 years, players can have groomed beards because beards are in. I mean, obviously you're rocking one right now. They're a real in thing in the world.
I wonder if mine would qualify as, or if they'd tell me, well, you're good, but you just got to get out the Just for Men, and we want it to be more, more even.
No gray in that beard
in this area. But yeah, the thing I love about this is that some folks probably might not even remember or realize that, of course, this rule was the inspiration for the in the Simpsons episode with all the Major League Baseball players playing on the nuclear power plant slow pitch team. It was the inspiration for the sideburns gag with Don Mattingly. And here I got a clip of that here.
Mattingly, I thought I told you to trim those sideburns. Go home. You're off the team for good.
Fine. Still like him better than Steinbrenner.
And just a quick note too, I did John Gibbons' podcast that he did for a year before he went back to the Mets last year, and we had Don Mattingly on because he's with the Jays right now, right? And I made sure that when we had him on as a guest, we asked him about that, and for whatever reason, he said more so in living in Toronto than anywhere else he's been, that he's got people on the streets telling him to shave his sideburns. So that's really lasted. I mean, that's like 30 some years old now, that episode.
Crazy.
So.
Crazy. And now we can see Yankees with groomed beards, something that we've all been dying to see.
Yeah, can't wait.
Can't wait. All right, that was Playing the Field. Let's change our attention now, and it's time to get off the fence. Brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products with locations in Calgary and Edmonton. Whether you're a homeowner, contractor, or builder, DLR is the most reliable source for vinyl fence. Opened in 2005 and not going anywhere. Unmatched service and high-quality North American-made products. Visit dlrvinylproducts.ca. All right. I challenged it before, and we've had some people chime in already all over the place, but I am not a fan of anything that interferes with the game needlessly. So in Major League Baseball, they tried it in the minor leagues, where what you can do is you can have your you can challenge a ball or a strike if you're a pitcher or a player. So if you think it's a strike call and it's a ball and you're a pitcher, you can put your head top of your head, boom, and they'll review it. Now each team can do it twice. So they brought it into spring training for the major leaguers. Same thing. And Max Scherzer spoke out about it. I'm going to paraphrase what he said, but basically he doesn't like it. He wants there to be humanity, humans making those decisions. And I couldn't agree with him more. I think it is a big mistake. And I remember when we brought this in for the NHL with offsides. Oh, we got to get it right. We cannot have people going offside. It is outrageous that we have going offsides. And now guess what? We sit through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes of reviews trying to see if they can tell frame by frame if someone was offside, which to me is outrageous. If the naked eye can't see it, can't tell that something's offside. Same with baseball. If a guy is calling a strike and it's just half inch outside, then call it to strike the whole night. That is what sports are. Sports are humanity. They're not robots. Because honestly, Zubes, I think we're 5 to 10 years away from umpires being no more than just people who put batteries in the strike and ball counters.
Yeah, you know what? I'm surprised that I like it. I watched some of the clips of it, and because it's so fast, it's 10 seconds. I'd rather have it in the game than the pitch clock. I feel like there's a rhythm of the game that is lost. So, I mean, it's got a new rhythm now, but I feel like each pitcher has their own rhythm. But I don't mind this for 10 seconds. It's like the tennis one. It's not exactly the same thing, but do you like the tennis reviews?
Yes, but I think, the difference is that's very hard. I believe it's hard to tell if something is in or out in tennis because it happens so fast.
Yes. Absolutely. But it's I mean, the amount of time it takes to review it is similar. Yeah. I will give you that the strike zone is not black and white, and they're trying to make it that way. I even saw a video that shows that the strike zone within the computer thing, within the ABS, is different for each guy there's a calculation based on their size. So the strike zone is not even exactly the same from one guy to the next. So there's where there's complication for me, but overall I like it. It's so fast. And when you get one that misses big time, then you're just like, yeah, like how did he miss that to begin with? So I'm surprised that I like it, but I like it. I'm in favor of it. For the two challenges a game, of course, if you get them right, you have unlimited challenges per game. You only lose a challenge if you get it wrong. But I love the speed of it. I like the accuracy and the black and whiteness of it. If they could do offsides that fast, I'd be in favor of that as well. If a computer just told me, yeah, it was offside, I'd believe it more than having to watch those frame by frame, step forward, step back on the replay for 7-8 minutes.
So let me ask you this. The game is 10-2, and I'm at the plate. I'm losing 10-2. but I'm worried about my own average because I just got called on in strike three. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it the old tap because it was close. Boom. Now all of a sudden it's a ball. Now I get a walk for nothing. It doesn't mean anything. And that is my problem, is that we're opening this up for people to selfishly call because they're trying to just catch it. Why not? What's the difference? Like, I don't know. I love humanity in games. I think the umps are a unique part of the game, and they do involve themselves in the game sometimes, but I like it because they're humans. I want to see their emotion. I want to see them go out at the manager sometimes. So I think we're actually doing the sport a disservice because players aren't perfect, coaches aren't perfect, and I don't think we should expect anyone who judges it, the umpires or the refs, whatever you want to call them, perfect either.
Yeah, that may well be. There is, I think they are trying, with all of these rules, the way they bring them in and the challenges, I do think they're trying to balance that. But I also, you're right, it raises a bunch of, there's going to be some very interesting strategic and like kind of nuanced things. Like imagine anybody who gets punched out for the final out of the game, if they have a challenge left, no matter what, they're challenging. So that those celebrations and stuff are all going to be like delayed. Okay, let's wait and see. We got to, like there's some odd things that it creates. Maybe I'll change my mind once I see it in the game. But from what I saw from the spring training clips of it being used so far, I'm like, yeah, I feel like I like it. And I'm usually not, I'm on your side about wanting the human element to stay in the game in all of the games, but I like the speed of it and how it was so black and white.
I do think it's interesting though, the pitcher doesn't like it because they want to create their own little strike zone. Like they want to be able to work it and keep extending that strike zone out as the game goes on. So I mean, we do have to take consideration who is not liking it in this case. I mean, Serge's been around a long time though, very well respected and very successful pitcher in his day. All right. Well, let's get to our play of the day. And this one is absolutely, I remember when this came out and I still can't believe. So what, should we just play it or do you want to, you tee it up maybe, Zubie? Say what this is all about.
Sure. One of the greatest trash talk, bizarro sound bites of all time from American professional bowler Pete Weber, who, and I just know he needed 2 or 3 strikes to finish off the match. And honestly, I don't even know if it was the national championship, whatever it was a big deal. And he was down. He needed 2 or 3 strikes to finish it off. He nails it and then just goes into this unhinged rant that made no sense. And here's a little bit of the sound from that.
Are you kidding me? That's right. Who do you think you are? I am.
Who do you think you are? I am. That was that's like the exclamation point. And like I said before, I've got my buddy here, Big Ern McCracken, on my Kingpin poster behind me, which is one of my favorite comedy movies of all time. And that was like life imitating art for sure. It was a very Ernie McCracken moment.
Incredible. And like bowlers are like, they're probably up there with kickers, right? That's kind of where they're at as far as, and here he is talking trash. It's like, remember when, what was it? Peyton Manning said, we got a kicker talking trash and he was just losing his mind. Like that, it's so funny. Pete Weber, who do you think I are? I am. Like, that is the funniest line. 13 years ago, Pistol Pete Weber still got it.
I feel like in my mind, I feel like it was even older than that, but I guess that makes me feel less old. There's a great scene in Kingpin too that reminds me of when they walk in for the big tournament at the end and Randy Quaid says, "Oh my gosh, it's just so intimidating to be in the presence of all these great athletes." And they show this shot of them all sitting. It's like these all big, heavy guys, big bellies, and they're eating like burgers and donuts and drinking big coffees and stuff like that. So
funny. Such a great movie. I have to watch that one again. All right, everybody, that brings us to the end of today's show. Thank you for tuning in, and thanks to all of our sponsors. We really appreciate you supporting us, and we love putting this out for you guys. Thanks to Ryan Rishaug, Talk Some Oilers, obviously, Darren Dreger, and all of you tuned in, all your insights, whether it's on Twitter or YouTube. We love hearing the comments, whether you agree with us or not. Zubie, another fun one, and let's hope that by next Wednesday, the Oilers have a couple more wins on their belt so we can maybe focus on a pre-trade deadline experience.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a little bit more positivity in that first segment coming back around next week. Although I think last week we were kind of just coming off of Four Nations. They hadn't played they hadn't played the final yet. Oh gosh, I can't even remember what's happened in a week. I feel like I guess it's been a long week.
It's been a lot of stuff. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We got I Got Your Back podcast after the game tomorrow, so tune in for that, Florida. We'll see what the lines are. We predict our lines here. We'll see what they come up with tomorrow. On behalf of Zubie, myself, and all your friends here at Struddy's World, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next week, same place, same time.
Have a good afternoon, everybody.